Hi, Vicky, how you doing?
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well on this sunny day.
I
The
know,
sun
it's
kind of
lovely.
come back to Devon, and I can
Oh,
see
excellent.
it's quite nice for you outside as well.
Yes, it's very nice. And I've actually started growing salad in my window boxes, so I've got a nice view of my growing salad.
Fantastic. So, just for the benefit of our viewers today, would you just like to introduce yourself and where you're working and what's your responsibilities within the team?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Vicky Downie. I'm the Senior Manager for Student Recruitment and Outreach at London South Bank University. So we are responsible for a few key areas for LSBU. So namely access and participation, focusing on the access part in particular. Also UK student recruitment, schools and colleges liaison, and also subject-specific recruitment as well. So looking at how we can undertake face-to-face, outbound, as well as on-campus activities to give students the opportunity to try out some of the courses for themselves.
Okay, oh, that's great. And how big is the team? How big is your team?
Well, we're bigger than some, but smaller than most.
Okay.
So we've there's apart from myself, we've got 6 people in our team,
Okay.
So we're just recruiting for our 6th person at the moment.
Okay.
That's fun.
Right.
We're doing recruitment. Under lockdown, so we sort of divided up into sort of three areas. So yeah, those at that access and participation area, the schools liaison, and subject specific recruitment within there, and everyone helps each other, but we've all got a bit of a responsibility for one of those areas, and then of course I sort of am responsible for all of it. And I work on dealing with the strategy, looking at building both internal and external partnerships, and really looking at how we can collaborate all together, both as a team, but within the rest of the marketing communications department and the wider university as well.
Yeah. So obviously I know, because we've worked together for a while, about the changes now, the LSBU group, I should say, coming together, so that there's a wider organisation. And so you and I have had the chance to have a brief chat before we arranged the interview. And I think what's quite interesting with you is the fact that you're based in London, which is obviously where most of the deaths, I believe, so far have occurred. So if we rewind maybe back to sort of mid-March time even, tell me a little bit about how everyone was coping, knowing that this virus was out there, but having to travel. I presume you commute to work every day from London to London? How long's your commute?
So my commute's about half an hour,
Right.
and I take 2 trains during that. One of them is a Thameslink train, so absolutely packed,
Okay.
as most Thameslink trains are at key commuter times. So yes, I mean, for me personally, it became more noticeable. You become more aware of other people when you're in that sort of environment. It's interesting what people watching. Everyone was very aware of each other when you're getting on, but it was in the run up, especially maybe the 2 weeks before lockdown, it was getting a lot quieter. I think as more people were really thinking about, do I actually need to go into work today? Do I really need to be in that office with other people? So I think a lot of, within our own university, but I feel that the culture within London anyway was, we were already moving towards that online approach. I know that with my team, probably for 3 weeks prior to actually saying we were going to be locked down, we were taking our laptops home every night because we just did not know what was going to happen and whether it would be a government decision to lock down or whether it would be a university decision to say no one's coming in today. So that we were trying to be as prepared as possible and agile as possible for whatever might happen.
Yeah. So yes, quite a frightening position. Because I'm down in the southwest, and fortunately for us, well, I think we've had the fewest cases. So
yeah.
But I can imagine that if you're sort of surrounded by that. So you mentioned a little bit about people taking laptops home, etc. So how has that transition been, would you say, for you and the wider team in terms of sort of now having to work from home?
Yeah, so I think we actually managed to adopt it quite quickly. I'm going to be honest, like a lot of other universities, and listening to some of the other interviews, you know, universities aren't always the best about getting onto digital communication as quickly as others. But luckily, in the previous couple of months, some of the senior managers and myself within our team, our department, we were looking to try and use technology a bit more, you know, with a bit more agility. So we were already starting to use Teams. We had already started moving a lot of our files that we needed onto Teams and things like that. So when it actually happened, we were able to start using it quite quickly. Okay. There were other areas within the department who were a bit slower than others, who'd never done it before. But I think it was good because our team were the real trailblazer within being able to do this type of communication, and we were able to encourage others to do that as well. So quite quickly we moved away from the traditional, oh, I'm gonna, you know, pick up the phone, to saying, no, we're going to have a Teams meeting, because, you know, it's going to be good to actually see each other face to face, because I think that's been a big part of all of this, that ability to see people and to engage with them face to face, even if you're not there physically, but just being able to you know, look someone in the eye is so important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Sarah, who's at the University of Warwick, raised the same sort of point, really, that the part of the reason that you're in the roles that you're in is because you're quite gregarious and outgoing people, and all of a sudden we're stuck at home, aren't we? So so what would you say, if there were any sort of general lessons that you've learned, you know, a bit of wisdom that you could pass on to maybe colleagues in the sector? What would you say? What are the lessons you've learned so far?
I think keep using this technology where you can. We are going to have to change how we work. That's become very clear, especially in our institution. Our chief customer officer was, so our super boss, she came to our departmental meeting a couple of weeks ago, and she said, this is going to change how I work, it's going to change how you work. Let's take advantage of this. And I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to be moving to a much more agile way of working. There'll be less people in the office, more people working from home or elsewhere. And I think it's about keeping that going, embracing that technology. Funnily enough, Sarah and I do a very similar thing, Sarah Booth and I, with our team. So I also instigated a sort of, you know, morning 15-minute breakfast catch up, and really to try and replicate that face-to-face interaction when you first enter the office and say, hi, how are you doing? What did you do last night? And that's what it is. It's 15 minutes just to talk about what did you do last night and have a cup of tea. And for some members of my team, especially those who are living alone, that has actually been a real comfort to them, that it may help them to get out of bed in the morning, they've told me so, and to look forward to something. And that's really heartened me, and I'm so glad that we've done it and we've been able to keep going with it. And I think, you know, whether that's online or offline in the future, whether it is a melded approach, that's something that I really want to be able to do more in the future.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So if you, I think we all realise that the world will change, and the role that the student recruitment teams play is obviously to be able to go and visit schools, which we currently can't do. But I think we'll hear some more positive news this week, hopefully, or Monday, I think it is. So have you already, considering that the world is going to change, have you put plans or strategies in place about how the new look might be come September in terms of the role of the student recruitment officer?
It's a difficult one. It really is. And I think that ability to stay flexible is going to be central to that. I've started talking to various contacts in schools and colleges that I know, finding out how they've been finding it, and especially with careers engagement with students, that is at the bottom of the list for a lot of schools. It's not necessarily seen as a priority right now. I'm not saying that's right for all schools and colleges, but for some it is, and actually being able to get students to engage with that has been quite difficult. I know that through working with our schools and colleges within the wider LSBE group, we've had challenges to, it's very easy to put on a webinar and those sorts of online activities, but how do you actually get students to engage with that? And I think that's something that we're going to need to do a bit more investigation if we decide that we want to take a more integrated approach going forward. And actually, I do think it's going to be more integrated, being able to balance out the face-to-face and the digital. It might not be that, it might be that from a face-to-face point of view, we keep working with the younger years, the young people, but with digital, it might be more appropriate and might be more accessible for non-traditional students. So mature students or students from underrepresented areas who can have access, whether it's through libraries or colleges, to technology, but maybe because of caring responsibilities, other responsibilities, can't necessarily engage face to face. So I think it's going to be about that flexibility, being able to flex our approach to our audience. And until we know what that new world looks like and how people are going to continue to engage with that, I think we can't put anything, firm plans in place at the moment. But I think it's going to be really important to talk to teachers, talk to careers advisors over these next few months to really find out what they need and what they want, because they're the ones who know the students best. And then hopefully we can be in a situation where we can react to that quickly enough to help support them.
No, it's a difficult time. I've watched a variety of surveys that have gone up have been posted on LinkedIn, and looking at the response of students currently as to whether they want to start their university year in 2020 or defer it for another year. And there's probably as much uncertainty for them, although the university sector, I think, has done a fantastic job at reassuring people that it should be business, hopefully business as usual, a slightly different student experience, but one that hopefully will be beneficial for them moving forward. So and
that's definitely something that at LSBU we've tried to put across really strongly. For us, it is business as usual, and we are looking at all different scenarios of how we can deliver that great student experience for those who are going to be starting with us in September or returning in September, looking at what different options are going to suit different people.
Yeah, that's great. So what I wanted to finish off with a couple of questions. The first one is, one of the things that I've noticed is the fact that people are fighting for airtime. So I'm seeing lots of virtual events going on, which is all great, and it's and very useful for the students as well. How do you think the sector could work more collaboratively, just to improve the work being delivered to that young to the year 12s and 13s at large?
I think it's actually expanding who we work with collaboratively.
Right.
So, for example, working closely with the FE sector, one example. So, as I said earlier, we've actually been prioritising a lot of our work with the schools and colleges within the LSBU group. So part of South academies and South Bank colleges. That's where we've been prioritising a lot of our work. And actually, it's been through that close collaboration with them that we've been able to deliver something that has been impactful. We have been able to work very closely to really understand what do students need at that moment in time, so that we can work with them to deliver that need. And I think it's going to be, the way we can collaborate is thinking about, maybe thinking about how we work with those groups. How, you know, if we can start to adopt those FE colleges or sixth form colleges, our local sixth form and FE colleges, and maybe rather than competing with each other at this time, maybe going in and something that we all do anyway is giving that impartial advice and impartial support, which we all do, you know, without saying, but maybe rather than bombarding all of these schools and colleges with requests saying, oh, we can come in and we can talk to your school, your students, maybe we could liaise a little bit closer with our local competitors and maybe say, okay, maybe we need to work on a themed approach. You know, you as a local Russell group, you go and do the Russell group. Us as the sort of local vocational and technical university, we go and talk about that and take that sort of more collaborative approach. That's, you know, something I don't think necessarily would continue long term, but I think in these situations where careers advisors and teachers are being bombarded with all of these fantastic requests, it's really hard to get through all of them and decide which one's the best for you, which means students aren't necessarily getting access to to all the options so that they can make that informed decision. It's going to be very much based on one university who's able to get in first and being able to deliver everything for that cohort. So I think, yes, being able to collaborate maybe in our local areas within specific groups, then I think that's how we can, at this point in time, maybe really help create what's best for those students in this really weird time.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion, a new one. But obviously, you know, thinking about it, you're absolutely right. We both know through the data that you can access on our platform that those colleges represent fairly significant numbers in terms of the number of people that apply to HE. So a great idea, and maybe something, I know quite a few of the people we've interviewed work with Helloa, so maybe that's again something that could be raised through that channel. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So just to finish off, what would you give to our listeners as what would be your 2 top tips, as they say? We've covered quite a lot of ground there in terms of, you know, the transition from working to home and, you know, how you've adapted to the digital world very quickly. So what would your 2 top tips be for anyone listening in today?
Yes, I'm taking a very personal approach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I think we've had some great suggestions, and I was trying to think, oh, what can I do that's different? But I think it is very important to think about personal well-being and the type of person you are. You were saying earlier how you know, as student recruitment professionals, we're all quite gregarious and be out there. Well, yes, I'm like that, but also I think I'm quite lucky because I'm actually an introvert by nature. Right. So I've been able to adapt to this situation probably easier than a lot of people, and some other introverts will have been able to adapt. And I think the way that I've done that is first of all through structure. For me, I like to have a start point and an end point to the day. I've got my breaks scheduled in. Probably because I'm actually can be quite a scatty person. So having that structure makes me focus. And then it also means that I know when the end of my day is, and I don't feel guilty about shutting off my computer, shutting off my mobile phone, and go, no, I've done my work for the day, and everyone's aware of what my day looks like. Making sure I'm sort of taking a walk during lunch times and things like that. Yeah. So I think, having some sort of structure, whatever that looks like, it doesn't have to be all in one go, it could be throughout the day, but I think having something to look forward to is really, really important, especially for mental health. And that can be really little, whether that's doing some exercise, going for a walk, going and a bunch of flowers or something like that, but just something to look forward to. And I think my second tip is laughter. Look for opportunities to laugh at things.
Yeah.
So one of the things that myself and my team do every morning, we have a little mini GIF competition on Teams, on the Messenger part of it, and there's loads of GIFs on there. So in the morning, we all check in, say hi to each other, and then find the best GIF we can find, according to what's going on at the time. So whether it's bank holiday, obviously it was Star Wars Day on Monday.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So trying to find little gifts for that. But also, look for opportunities for laughter. I've been watching a lot of online stand-up and a lot of comedians recently.
Anything you can recommend?
Definitely Stuart Goldsmith's Infinite Sofa. Very good, because he had lots of different comedians on there. People you've heard of, people you haven't heard of. So that's fantastic. And I think at this time it is really easy to get focused on the negatives and the sadness, and as you mentioned earlier, there have been more deaths in London than anywhere else, and I think a number of us in the team, if not all of us, have known someone who's died as a result of this. So being able to enjoy life, to enjoy laughter, is so important. So smell the flowers and laugh a lot. That is my tips.
I love both of them, and I totally agree. I'm someone that needs structure as well. So like you, I've had to put a bit of that in place. The homeschooling has been more than challenging, and I have a new admiration for teachers across the UK. But can I just thank you ever so much for giving us the time in your busy schedule. It's been a pleasure talking with you today, and I'm sure we'll talk again very soon. And enjoy the bank holiday weekend.
Definitely. Thank you, Sean. It's been great talking to you as well. Yes, and enjoy the sun.
Yes, I will.
Take care. Bye.